All right, what's going on? Welcome to Insight with Irv. Look, 3 reasons why you should not start a business. In a world where we're probably watching every piece of content on YouTube saying, hey, this is the business to start in 2023. Hey, going into the new year, this is the business that's going to be the cash cow. Hey, use this AI software to spit out cash. I want to bring a different spin to this conversation because I think that a lot of people are starting businesses not really knowing what they're getting themselves into. And so in this episode, I want to give you really 3 things for you to chew on and consider of why maybe you shouldn't get a business or go after a business. So the first one is if you like absolute control. This one right here is interesting because even though you do have to have absolute control before you go into business, right? You obviously have control over your life. You eventually have to give up more and more control at every level that you go up. So I'll give you a practical example. So right now, I have my videographer, he's recording our podcast. And so one of the things that I had to learn to kind of give up control on was me going out and trying to find the best sound bites on some of the clips, because in my mind, I'm like, well, I really like this sound bite, or man, I really like the way that came out. And so now one of the things that I do is I trust his ability to kind of see what our audience likes, see more so how the message was delivered. And then from there, curate, hey, maybe this is a good soundbite that would obviously get some good views, get some good clicks, or just, be a nice piece of content for you to put out into the ethos of the internet, right? So that's at a super practical level. Now, if we're maybe taking that a layer deeper from a leadership standpoint, is as you're building a business, when you first start, you have the most expensive seat, meaning everything that is done in the business flows through you. And so you're the salesman, you're the customer service rep, you're the fulfillment, you're the packager, you're the return label person. So when a product comes back in, hey, this was damaged, give me my money back. You're that person. And so when you start to kind of get yourself out of those roles, you start to realize, or you start to think to yourself, man, no one's going to be a better salesperson than I am. Or man, no one's going to treat that customer better than I will. Or man, no one's going to package these products and ship it out faster than I will. Until you realize that that is a leadership skill or leadership deficiency that you haven't tapped into just yet, which if we, again, take it even a third layer deeper, it's really just fear. It's fear of the unknown. We don't know what we don't know. So we think that just because we're delegating it to somebody else, our product or what we do is going to be watered down. But if you'd be surprised if you train someone with what you know and how you've been doing it, you'd be surprised if you let people think for themselves, especially if you're hiring smart people. You're not just hiring, a dummy, right? Lack of better words, to come work for you. So now you're like the genius with the 1,000 hands. If you hire people that are actually smart, that care about working with you and for you, you start to realize, man, they actually brought some pretty good ideas to the table, or I didn't even think about doing it that way. I've brought on people that I think to myself, man, they're way more organized than I am. Or even with my videographer, dude, he edits way faster and way better than I do, right? And he still has a good ear on what, he believes is going to catch the audience's attention. Now, obviously that comes with trust, and that comes with, you kind of hearing each other out. But that's part of the communication and you learning to give up control. The second reason why you shouldn't start a business is if you want to have more time on your hands. This is a big lie. When you first start a business, you're not going to have more time on your hands. In fact, I would argue that when you start a business, you're going to give up more of your time off. When you start a business, you can say bye-bye to your weekends. When you start a business, you can say bye-bye to the late nights, or you can say bye-bye to the mornings that you want to sleep in. Depends on what your work schedule is. Everyone's work-life balance is different, but I can tell you the majority of the successful entrepreneurs that I've dealt with, that I've been in the same room with, 7-figure, 8-figure entrepreneurs, they will tell you, I had to sacrifice dinners with my friends. I had to sacrifice going to the game. I had to sacrifice going on dates with different people. Now, this isn't forever. This is going to be for a season. And since things come in seasons, you have to weigh out. Is this a sacrifice that's going to be worth making? Or is this something that I just don't want to pay the price? And that's totally fine if you don't want to pay the price. But you can't get mad when you look at someone else at the level that you maybe wanted to be at, because they potentially paid a price and they sacrificed things at a level that you weren't willing to do in your own life. So you can't point the finger, say, hey, they got lucky that they're there, or they didn't have to take the same road that I did. everyone has their own road and everyone has their own layer and level of sacrifice. And it's up to us to distinguish and to really find out, is this something that's worth the price? Is this a result that I don't mind leaving relationships on the line? I don't mind telling people, hey, you're not going to see me for a season. Hey, you're not going to see me for a couple months. Hey, this next year, it's goal time. If that's not you, that's totally fine. If you want to live mediocre, you can make a good living. Let me say it like this. You can make a good living sacrificing the bare minimum, but you're not really going to live that dream or that extraordinary lifestyle that you're probably envisioning, because it's going to cost you a lot more than you think. And then number 3, this is the final one. It's going to be a quick pod today, is if you crave predictability, this is probably not going to be the route for you. I have one guarantee for you in business, and the guarantee is that there is no guarantees. The only guarantee that I have for you in business is that your best idea is probably going to flop. Your best piece of content that you think you just finished recording is probably not going to take off like you think it is. That product that you spent a lot of time designing, at least the first round of it, it's probably not going to get the amount of sales that you think it is. In fact, it's probably going to get returned more than what you're anticipating. And here's the catch. And that's okay, if you're willing to go through that. A lot of people aren't willing to go through the ups and downs, the emotional roller coasters of being in business. One day you have a record high in sales. The next 2 weeks, it's famine. It's not feast. It's absolute famine, where you're wondering, where the heck is my next client going to come from? I remember when I was selling real estate, and I asked the top realtor in our office at the time, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, I think I was about a month into real estate. I was like 23. And I asked him, hey man, quick question for you. He says, yeah, and this guy was doing some numbers. I said, hey, just out of curiosity, how do you know when you're getting your next client? Like, does it get easier? You know, I'm new here. I'm not sure how that works. And he looks at me and he says, that is the ride of being a business owner. You don't know when your next client is coming. I've been doing this for over 10 years. And I can tell you, every time that I finish my final transaction, I think to myself, for all I know, that could be the last client that I ever work with. So this guy's still in real estate, by the way. He's still a top producer. But that right there really opened up my eyes to putting systems into place and to also trusting the process of, hey, one foot in front of the other. You may not know if this is going to be your last client. So you want to treat every client as if they're your last client, because that client could refer you another client. That client refers you another client. That client refers you another client. And again, that's at the super basic level, but that's ultimately what it is, because word of mouth is still alive and well, regardless of how advanced social media is. If your product sucks, if your service sucks, if your content sucks, people are going to talk negatively. If it's the reverse or the inverse of that, and it's good, it's top notch, it's thought provoking, it's a stellar product, people are going to talk, and you're going to get more referrals. People are going to share more of your content, and you're going to continue to grow your audience and continue to obviously make more money along the way. So those are 3 different perspectives that I wanted to give you on why I think you shouldn't start a business. Those are 3 things that I want you to chew on. I want you to meditate on those and really challenge yourself to think, hey, should I continue this business or this path of opening a business or going on this path of keeping the doors open, or is it time to hang it up? That is a real conversation that you want to have with yourself. Or should I keep my day job? That is a real conversation that you want to have with yourself. This isn't a feel-good podcast episode today, but this is a real one that I wanted to put on your radar, because I think it's going to help you think a little bit differently before you take your next step. So if you found value in this content, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. And again, if you haven't done so, and if you've been watching us for some time, it would mean the absolute world if you leave us a 5-star review, because it does help us in the algorithm world to reach a larger audience. But until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next episode.